theoretical bow stuff. I was thinking this morning that, first of all, I got something in my pocket. There, now that we've got that out of the way, that working with substandard bow woods really is a great way to fine-tune your bow making craft, and also I do believe have a deeper understanding of what's going on with woods. And I'm going to contrast a few things. Here's a little short dinky bow made out of Osage, right? And if you're making short dinky bows or even longer bows out of Osage, you're following the steps correctly, and you're not going for a 200-pound at 60-inch draw bow. You could go a lifetime without experiencing broken bones or issues or bad things, because it's tough wood. It's awesome wood. You learn your craft of bows, but this is treading on sacred ground here. But do you actually have the optimal understanding of, I need to get this thing tillered just perfectly, I need to keep it within a certain range, or else bad things are going to happen? I know, I appreciate. If all I worked with was Osage and somebody said, well, you can make bows, but you haven't reached the zenith of understanding certain things. I mean, beautiful tiller. Let's say that this is a beautiful tillered, awesome Osage longbow. I crafted it, even with stone tools, let's say. I have skill to create a wonder of engineering using natural materials. And so I am tap dancing, into areas where maybe I shouldn't go. Talking about this fully understanding and fine-tuning your ability to. I get it. On the other hand, I realize that sometimes I think too much. Well, if I can craft, picture this beautiful recurved or an RD Osage longbow and wonderful sinew backing. How much more sensitivity do I need? I don't know. Again, I'm thinking too much here. But I'm gonna jump to these things. I've got two versions of white cedar. This is actually white cedar, eastern white cedar, and this is actually western red cedar. Both have similar, say, engineering capabilities as far as modulus of elasticity and tensile strength and compressive strength and all that good stuff. They're basically the same wood. There might be some minor differences. But basically, these are composed of really bad bow wood. Really crummy bow wood. And no one, including me, unless you want to just experiment, will say, you should make a cedar bow. A thuja bow, not an eastern red cedar. It's a whole different animal that makes beautiful bows. But no one really should tell you to make bows out of this unless you just want to see what you can do, which is in its way kind of good. Let's talk about these things. This one, the white cedar, whatever, made from a stave. Cut down a tree, made a bow. And you can see them covered with chrysals, but it's still, pretty decent. For its weight. It's sub 30 pounds. But because it's not back, there's no extra weight here. It's got a little bit of rawhide wrapping around the string grooves there. It's deflexed, which reduces its oomph. But because the limbs are so light, mimicking the bows in the Southwest and possibly other places that were subpar, it's a bow that will work. It's got kreisels up and down, stem to stern, tip to tip. But this thing's been shot over 1,000 times. And it developed the kreisels right off the bat, but still it works. I was able to make a shorter bow and wider bow using kind of the same stuff. That's a higher weight. I was getting 35 pounds out of this one, and it's respectable shooting bow, a nice bow. Let's delve into this, a backed bow. And it was fire hardened. I probably wound up sanding off all the fire hardening, but who's to say? Within constraints. If this was another wood, I could have finished tillered it and then backed it. But this is a system. I can tiller it to a point, being very gentle and feeling at a very modest draw weight. You know what the draw weight of this longer draw weight will be. You get one of these things. Let's say I sold you a kit, a white cedar kit. It needs to be rawhide backed. It's fire hardened. Well, you need to be able to, as a teacher, be able to flex it to a point. You can't, like a Osage bow or a elm bow or other bows, you can't final tiller it, you know, from the back, because it's fire hardened. You don't want to remove that fire hardening. You just can't. You have to have a feeling for it. Let's see. I'm pulling it back, let's say, 10 inches. It feels like it's this way. I'm estimating if I pull it back farther, it's going to gain another 15, 20 pounds. Sand the back, get it to what you want, and then you back it, and then it's all good. You know, you have to take extra measures in order to get this thing to its final bow shape without destroying it. And that's what I did. I fire hardened it and bent it back a little bit, being extremely careful, feeling like I'm walking around eggshells, you know, before I finished sanding the back and getting it down to its weight, and then rawhide backing, and all is good. Another thing that was about this bow, this is very theoretical now. I shot it a lot. I don't know, I'm not going to say a couple hundred times. Let's say I shot it 100 times, which I probably did. 4 arrows, more than 25 rounds. And I started noticing superficial, very, very minor, up to within my hand right here. I was starting to see some issues. It's very minor kreisels. It's like, I don't want to have any. I don't want it to be like Captain Kreisel here. I want to have just a beautiful bow and a longer draw length. So what do I do? Time to think. If I'm seeing kreiseling just right here, there's none there. I just sanded them off. It was like almost nothing. Kreiseling here, very minor. In here, what do I do? I need to analyze my tillering. See, I could have had this a red oak bow and it would have been fine, because red oak is compression strong compared to this weak stuff. It was all in here and just beautiful. In fact, hopefully you can see that. Look at that. That looks like a growth ring bow, and it's true. Flat sawn, which makes it even more critical that I rawhide backed it before I started drawing it much. Because a growth ring bow, I didn't make it from a stave. I made it from a board, which meant that I had violations, a few violations through here. Which makes it even more critical because it would break under tension if I tried to like tiller it all the way before I rawhide backed it. But look at that. This is absolutely true. You see the growth rings pinching out, and then they start getting thicker here, which is true because this bow is thinnest through here and then it gets thicker. This is a growth ring bow. I can't tell that this wasn't made from a stave. It's pretty cool. But getting back to it, between here and here, that's where I've seen very minor kreisels that, like a swipe or two of the sanding block, eliminated them. But if it's beautiful here, kreisely here, it just means I'm not getting enough bend here. And so I put it on the tillering stick and stood back, and it's true. It's got a little bit more, just, we're right on the cusp, right on the very verge. For any other bow, it would have been decent. You could have, I'm talking slight, minuscule, more bending here than here. Every other wood would have been fine. But I increased the bend outboard to distribute it more. It's probably a function of bending radius here. There was more, it was a tighter bend, slightly, I mean, almost imperceptible, causing this, that was right on the razor's edge of being good or showing signs. So I increased the bend through here. So I sanded it more out here, shot it a bunch more times, and so far, you know, it's perfectly fine. No issues. By just retailoring it just slightly, not even really retailoring it because it was so minor out here. So I'm good now. It's a good bow. If it was, which it was at 35 pounds, now some theoretical stuff. At 35 pounds, I was right on the edge of not getting any more weight out of it, right? So, theoretically, if I get more bend through here, I can get a longer draw length, but I'm now shooting for 31 pounds, 32 pounds at that longer draw length. Theoretical stuff now. Hang on to your shorts, Pippi Longstockings. 32-pound bow at a longer draw length, I will claim, will send an arrow faster than a 35-pound bow at a shorter draw length. I've created a faster bow as I reduce the weight of it. More theoretical stuff. If at 35 pounds it was not doing too well in here, and it was acceptable really, but I was just seeing minor stuff that wasn't really getting any worse. Can I still have a 35-pound bow with more bending in here? I personally believe I can't. I think that if I was seeing at 35 pounds a little bit of damage here, minor. I mean, I didn't, that's kind of hard to see because it's blacker, but you can see just beautiful unchrystled wood there. I believe, and I might be wrong, that because at 35 pounds I was seeing some problems here, that even though I'm increasing the bend here, I shouldn't go past 35 pounds. I should stick around 31 pounds, 30 pounds even. But again, theoretically, 35 pounds, 30 pounds, I'm going to have a faster bow or an even bow, even shooting bow. But yeah, when I said that this is a teacher, it really is. And again, if you're working with, I'm going to say it, good bow wood, like an Osage or a yew or something like that, even red oak, white oak, elm, cherry, you're never going to have to experience that unless you're working in higher weights, and then you can still break bows made out of all those other ones. But maybe, I don't know, what's the advantage? What is the advantage of me sitting here and overthinking a cedar bow, a thuja bow? So maybe I'll be more sensitive to bows made out of other woods. Maybe, you know, by increasing the bend in here, I can get a 60-pound, 65-pound red oak bow at 29 and 30 inches. See where I'm going with this? It kind of increases though, because as you increase your draw length, you're increasing the bend rate, or increasing the bend rate, whatever, you're getting a tighter bend here. And so the weights will drop because you're getting more physical change from compression. There's so many, if I change this, then I change that. Then this will change. See where I'm going with this? Let's say my maximum paddle bow is 65 pounds at 27 inches, which I've got one sitting in there and it's showing no signs. I've made 65-pound bows, and woods vary, of course. 65-pound red oak paddle bows that aren't doing well at 30 inches. Same weight, but I don't have as much bend here, and there's less physical change in the crunch distance. So you're changing your maximum draw weight. This is heady stuff. I don't even know why I'm talking about all this stuff. But yeah, this is beautiful, clean, uncrunched wood with a longer draw length than it was when it was crunched, although the draw weight is a little bit less. It's a faster bow now. But as I'm pulling it back further, I have to keep decreasing the weight because there's more movement in the belly because of compression. So it's kind of a diminishing returns thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe you're able to watch this wacky doodle video and come up with some ideas. Maybe it's as simple as you just got to till your bows better. But how do you know how to tiller your bows better if you don't understand what's actually happening? Maybe with the help of my examples here using the world's worst bow wood. Look what happens when you get into primitive archery. Your mind melts. It's a good place to end.